Not feeling so fucking full of yourself now, huh?
Yeah, well, them's the breaks, fuck.
Any last requests?
Yeah. Can I fuck your sister?
You an asshole to the end. Punk motherfucker. Hey, Eddie, before you go fuck yourself, you thick redneck chump.
The core appeal of video games is to let the player take control of super powerful characters and get themselves into a world of fun. With a myriad of options to choose from, there is no way for any gamer to not find their niche. However, with successes like The Sims and Goat Simulator have proven otherwise, one of the most peculiar types of real-life simulators being the farming and social simulator. On August 9th, 1996, Bokujo Monogatari was released in Japan for the Super Famicom. It would arrive in America in June of the following year under the name Harvest Moon, a reference to a phenomenon where a full bright moon occurs at the start of fall. The game follows a young man who decides to leave home and make a living for himself in the country over the course of 3 years. It was inspired by producer Yasuhiro Wada's childhood in the countryside and his desire to create a role-playing game that did not include any combat. The game itself would sell over 100,000 units and would go on to be a successful franchise, with a new title that came out the previous year. On April 14, 2001, Dobusu no Mori was released in Japan for Nintendo 64. The player takes control of a human character who lives in a village with anthropomorphic animals. It is a non-linear style game that emphasizes that the player develop friendships with their villagers and to ease into a simple life. The game was ported over to the Gamecube when it was localized, where it was given the title Animal Crossing. This version included better graphics and more features that were not present in the original, including the ability to be played in real time using the Gamecube's internal clock. Animal Crossing would be ported over to Japan under the title Dobusu no Mori Plus. This franchise would also see subsequent releases and has become a top franchise for Nintendo. Its recent title, Animal Crossing New Horizons, has sold over 37 million copies worldwide. In 2011, college graduate Eric Barone was working as an usher for a local movie theater. He was unable to find work in the field of computer science and decided to create a game as a way to improve his job prospects, as well as get in touch with his creative side. Initially entitled as Sprout Valley, it was created as an alternative to Harvest Moon, as he felt the series had gotten progressively worse. He was also influenced by other franchises such as the aforementioned Animal Crossing, Minecraft, and Terraria. Barone considered releasing the game on Xbox Live Indie Games, but changed over to Steam Greenlight when the scope of the game escalated. Those plans ended up being dashed as he felt that the game was unsuited for it. Chucklefish Studios helped with the non-developmental aspects, and the project would end up in development for 4 years. Stardew Valley was released on February 26, 2016 on PC via Steam. It sold over 400,000 copies in its first 2 weeks. As of 2022, the game has sold over 20 million copies. The game has been ported over to the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and the Nintendo Switch. It has also been ported to mobile devices. The game follows the farmer whose recently deceased grandfather granted them access to the farm in the eponymous Stardew Valley, crushed by the mundane 9-to-5 job from Joja Corporation. This drives them to quit their position and reset on life. The farm has seen better days, and it is up to the player to make the farm as successful as possible. The game has you start with customizing your farmer and what kind of farm you will possess. Each farm terrain has its different perks. The Haunted Hill farm grants you more access to natural materials at the expense of running into monsters at night. New players may prefer to play on the default farm as it is the most basic of the bunch. You can also name your farm and get to choose whether you want a cat or a dog. Much like its predecessor, the quite literal meat and potatoes of this game is the farming aspect. Crops can be grown at certain times of the year and can yield gold. You can use kegs and preserves jars to produce juices, wines, jams, and pickled vegetables. Once you've nabbed enough cash, you can upgrade over to either a coop or a barn, which will give you access to goods like eggs and milk. Some animals provide wool, which can be turned to cloth, and feathers, which can be used for dyeing. During your stay, you will also become acquainted with several of the citizens in Pelican Town, such as Robin, the town's local carpenter, her husband, Demetrius, and her 2 children, Maru and Sebastian, Marnie, the animal whisperer, Shane, an alcoholic who works for Joja Mart, his goddaughter Jazz, Jody and her children Vincent and Sam, Gunther, the museum's curator, Clint, the local blacksmith, Alex, the jock who dreams of being a professional gridball player, his grandparents George and Evelyn, Gus, the owner of the Star Drop Saloon, Pierre, owner of the local shop, his wife Caroline and daughter Abigail, Linus, the residential hobo, Morris, a representative for Joja Mart, Harvey, who runs the local medical clinic with Maru, Elliot, the resident romantic heartthrob, Leah, the quiet artistic girl who lives outside the town, Haley, the valley girl and her sister Emily, Willie the fisherman, the wizard Rasmodius, a dwarf, and Krobus, a friendly monster. At the start of your second year, you run into Kent, Jody's wife who returned from the war. Alongside the main objective, Mayor Lewis also points you to the community center, which has seen better days. You can either go the route of obtaining the necessary items to complete the community center, or you can hand it over to Joja and let them take care of it for only a few fees. You can also visit the mines where you can obtain ore for upgrading your gear and geodes. They can be given to Clint for him to open, which can yield ore, gemstones, and artifacts that can be donated to the museum. Pierre's shop offers a variety of crops depending on the season, alongside saplings and fertilizer. Gus offers you various food and beverages throughout the week, but opens later in the day. Willie offers bait and rods and can also take fish at a higher price. Once you've unlocked access to the bus, you can travel to Calico Desert and shop from Sandy's Emporium or visit the Skull Cavern. Much like its predecessors, befriending and even romancing the villagers of Stardew Valley is one of many things the player can do. This is indicated by the hearts of the villagers the player interacts with. Depending on how many hearts there are, you can get access to cutscenes that go in depth about the characters, many of whom carry personal demons with them. When the player has obtained full friendship, Pierre will give them access to a bouquet of flowers that they can use to start a romantic relationship. If the player decides that the romance can last even longer, they can buy themselves a mermaid pendant under certain circumstances and propose to the love of their life. You can even have children with your spouse. With 6 male and female candidates respectively, there is bound to be one that will steal the player's heart. A progressive feature to Stardew Valley's romancing feature is the inclusion of LGBTQ+ romancing options. All the bachelors and bachelorettes are open to both male and female farmers with no restriction. Many players within the LGBTQ+ community have praised the game for its inclusive romancing options. The biggest distinction from Harvest Moon is the ability to play with other players. By buying a small cabin, the player can invite up to 4 players and engage in their daily chores, as long as the player had a stable internet connection. Stardew Valley has been a welcome addition to many people's libraries. It was well received by gamers and critics alike. Harvest Moon producer Yasuhiro Wada proclaimed it was as close to the original vision of the game he had created all those years ago. However, it was far from perfect. Many had criticized the game for its fishing and combat mechanic as it being clunky and unreliable. Some players are even more irked as the ability to play cross-platform is still not available. Earlier this year, ConcernedApe released a teaser trailer for The Haunted Chocolatier. In this game, you will play as someone who is currently residing in a haunted castle. You'll need to collect rare ingredients in order to produce chocolate and sell them in a chocolate shop. Details are scarce as this project is still in development and a release date is to be announced. As it currently stands, the 1.5 update is expected to hit mobile devices by the end of the year. A 1.6 update has been announced, but ConcernedApe said, quote, "It won't be huge," end quote. It all started with Yasuhiro Wada being homesick and deciding to create a game based on his childhood. This planted the seeds for another person inspired by their childhood to make a similar game, but expanded upon it. Many games have been emulating the cozy feeling of Stardew Valley with their own unique twist. And it seems as though it will never stop growing.